Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to some more StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm. Today we're gonna take a look at a Zerg vs Terran game that I played a couple of days ago. This time around, it is going to be on Xel'Naga Caverns, which is a really freaking strange map for Zerg vs Terran, okay? If anyone wondering why this is the case, well, let's just have a look at this one. What is this? This is a really hard to take third base. What's this? Well, this is the other super hard to take third base. So that's the main thing with this map. It is just super freaking hard to take third bases on this map. So most of the time so far, what I found that happens on this map is that you play a super cheesy build order and then you switch into another cheesy build order. And eventually, if you manage to actually catch a break, you will switch into a third base. But other than that, you sort of just sit on two bases and you hope that you do enough damage with your aggression. Now, not really the best way to play, not really the playstyle that I usually go for. However, I've actually been having a lot of success so far in this season. I think I got about 80% win or so far, and that's obviously with, I think I played like maybe 30, 40-ish games so far. Not the greatest amount, but maybe a little bit more, I don't even know. But, you know, it is pretty good so far, and I've been playing super duper aggressive compared to what I normally do. As you guys know from watching my other live games and my other game analysis videos as well, you will likely know that I do mainly play macro games. But in this season, you know, just because of the maps, I've been forced to play a lot more aggressive, and so far it's actually really paying off. I'm doing all these kind of weird strategies that feel really awkward to me, but somehow, some way, it actually is working. So I'm having a ton of fun again in StarCraft. Just got for my hatchery, or my natural first right there, by the way. In the natural, my hatchery is going down. And what I'm gonna open up with in this game. Actually, I'm showing a couple things on the live stream right there. You can see that little wiggling around the fourth base of my opponent, or the third base. I'm just showing that to the people on the live stream, so that's why this is happening. But what I'm gonna go for in this game is a pretty standard Roach Bane bust, which is something I've been doing for a long time anyway. And then I'm gonna switch into Roach Hydra Queen, if I'm not mistaken. And the queens are kind of weird in that composition. But honestly, queens are one of the best units that Zerg has. Now, normally queens are kind of bad, simply for the fact that, you know, it takes really long for them to walk across the map. And once they are on the other side of the map, you usually don't, you know, walk back with them, just because they are so incredibly slow. So if you commit with queens, you're first off gonna have to delay your attack for about 2 minutes or so, because that's how long it takes for them to move across the map, on a bigger map obviously. And you're also never gonna get them home again. So usually if you go for queens, it's a very risky strategy. But on this one, I can actually take a little bit more aggression. So in this one, I'm going for a relatively big amount of queens, just because I know that I have a bigger chance of either getting them out safely, or that I will be able to move across the map a little bit faster with them. Now, like I said, I'm gonna open up though with a Baneling Roach bust right here. So I'm just playing super standard. Open up gasless right there. Gotta go for a couple Zerglings right now. You can already notice the timing of that very first Reaper. He didn't go for a ridiculously early Reaper or anything like that. He's just playing a super standard one as well. But just because the rush distance is so little between the two bases, my opponent's already in my main base. And I'm gonna be canceling those two gases again. Have no use for him. He does immediately. Yeah, he ends up getting one Zergling right there, not the biggest of deals, but I do get a glimpse of the second Reaper as well, so I'm gonna try my best to just micro and not lose any of the units so far. Well, I lost one Zergling, I suppose, but that's alright. So far things are going pretty standard. I'm getting the double gas up right now, getting 2 more queens as well, and I'm just gonna try and ward away these Reapers for as long as I possibly can. I'm using the Zerglings on the high ground and the queens on the low ground, just so I can have a little bit more room to move around in. Now, the 2 queens in the natural right now are sort of crucial. I already plan on playing a little bit more queen heavy right now, so I'm gonna need 2 queens dedicated to creep spreading to do even something remotely like that later on in the game. And obviously, if you're gonna go for a Roach Bane bust, the queens are also gonna help out just to make their push a little tiny bit faster. And it may not sound significant, but your units do move a whole lot faster off of creep, and it makes just counterattacks and whatnot way easier to hold, even if your aggression fails. So as of right now, I'm just making as many units as I possibly can. I'm not really focusing on anything else. I'm just trying to make as many units or as many drones as possible while slowly but surely tacking up. Got my Roach Warren going up right now. I just started up my my Zergling speed as well, which means that I'm almost done droning. I need about 6 more drones or so to really start up. Now the nice thing is that normally with the Roach Bane bust, you do take a third base, just to make sure that your opponent isn't expecting any kind of shenanigans. But obviously, because it is this map, my opponent, you know, isn't really expecting me to go for a quick third anyway. So my Roach bust should, technically speaking, be a little bit stronger than it usually is. I did decide to go for a third gas geyser as well. This is because I saw, I believe it was Sulky do this a whole lot. No, it's actually not Sulky, it was Sue. Using this same strategy and actually goes for a pretty quick third gas geyser just to get some extra roaches out, so I figured why not just give that a try. And meanwhile, I'm just spreading as much creep as possible. Already got quite a significant amount of creep streamers moving across the map, and it is going quite well. I'm going to be scouting around, however, checking out with an overlord to see what's going on, and I notice that there is indeed a starport up with a tech lab. So my opponent is going to go for Banshees, and I also noticed that there was a little light glowing in the tech lab right there, so I know, alright, there is going to be the cloak upgrade right there as well. So I do go for some spore crawlers right there, but I'm still going to go with this aggression, knowing that if my opponent still went for like some greedy command center play, there's a big chance he's gonna overcompensate. You know, you're not really gonna be able to defend very well with just two Banshees against like a whole lot of Zerglings, because they just simply don't kill them fast enough. So I'm still gonna go for this aggression. However, I do know that I'm in trouble. I actually end up losing one queen right there. That's a little bit bad by me. And I also lost, I think, a creep streamer or two, which is also not ideal. And right now I'm scouting and I'm like, okay, it looks like my opponent is indeed gonna go for some sort of mech play. So I might want to go a little bit more on the roach side of things. So I do start a couple more roaches. I'm gonna also need some Zerglings, however, in here. And I really want to be getting my third base up. Now, what I should have done, now I'm looking back at this game, I should have knocked down these rocks a lot faster. But I am trying to outsmart these Banshees. I know the Banshees are somewhere on the east watchtower right now, and I'm just gonna try and sneak by it. I know for a fact that he hasn't seen me so far, and I should be able to move across the map without my opponent really being aware of my existence right there. I do see the third command center go down right there. Gonna be nuking that one down instantly. He's likely gonna use the spore defensively as soon as he realizes it. There we go, he does send it back home. So, you know, this is also a way of defending. Being aggressive is not a way of being defensive as Zerg. Simply because you know that your opponent is gonna, you know, move across the map. Gonna try and pick off as many workers as possible right here. And I'm gonna send the banelings after them. Now, SCVs are fast, so I don't really get many kills on right there. Gonna try... Nope. Gonna instead send a big group of Zerglings after the workers right there, just to make sure that they are there. But this is something I didn't realize. These Zerglings actually decided to not attack the SCVs. I could have killed every single one of them, which would have made this game a whole lot less interesting actually, because it would have just finished pretty much right here with all the workers going down. But I do manage to break in the main base, thinking that I killed all of the SCVs. Now, truth be told, I really expected that to have happened, so I'm gonna transition into a third. But truth be told, I really expected this game to be over right now. As long as all the workers went down, I should have been fine. I somehow, some way, don't even notice that all of his workers right now are on my creep. I haven't even noticed this so far. Look at the watchtower, they're literally just standing there. Right on my creep, really. I could have just killed them with any kind of reinforcements. But anyway, I'm gonna start transitioning. Got my third base going up right now, got more gases going up as well. And I'm just scouting around a little bit to figure out what is going on. I also am finally killing a couple of these SCVs, but realizing my mistake, I'm gonna have to transition right now. My opponent can simply land his command center again and go back into macro mode. Right now, if you take a look at income, it is pretty damn even. And even though, you know, I did a lot of damage to him, and even though I slowed him down a bit, I am not really in a big advantage right now. Honestly though, if I would have noticed that these Zerglings weren't actually fighting the SCVs, I would have probably had an easy victory right here. But either way, I'm gonna transition right now. Got my lair going up. Also got a other hatchery going up, which is the third. I got more upgrades going down as well. I really want to be getting not just the Zergling upgrades and the lairs and whatnot. I really also want to be starting to upgrade my actual army. So I did decide to go for the missile upgrade right here, opposed to anything else. Now this is where I start ramping up the queen production. I really want to get more queens out in this situation, because I simply don't have enough larvae to really support anything else. He's even attacking my roach warren right now, knowing that I'm gonna need something tanky. So I am running a couple of Zerglings around. Gotta morph these into banelings to walk them across the little fog of war that I know my opponent has, but I am in trouble right now. My lair is not done yet. I do not have detection, and really the only unit that I'm really having right now are a couple of queens. I do decide to go for the Hydra Den, which I was planning on anyway, because I am playing Roach Hydra, but this is risky right here. If my opponent micros correctly, there's a big chance he might be able to just finish me off right now, because I don't have enough. Now I figured, okay, best defense is going to be going on the offense, so I do decide to move across the map with my Roach army, just to force his Banshees out of my mineral line and out of my bases because I am a little bit worried right now for the game. I know that my opponent has a big chance of winning, but here we go. My banelings are running across, and I do a bunch of damage right there. So far, I killed 22 workers in the game. He killed 11, which is also a significant amount, but we're still alive. We're still alive. I'm making 13 Hydralisks right now, which is something that I saved up for, and I also have other units in the air called Overseers to actually detect that my opponent is still in my natural and that I can actually see these Banshees, even though they're out of energy right now. I would be able to spot any kind of new Banshees that do come in. So there we go, Hydra's finally popped, gonna try and attack them as much as possible. He hasn't found my third base quite yet, however, he does see him right now. He does know that the creep is up. Gonna send my Hydralisk straight to the third base because I don't want to lose it, and I'm also gonna be sending more drones to my natural. I need to replace them. Right now, if you take a look at income, we are still pretty damn even, and that is not where we want to be. Banshees is a very scary unit once you actually have to deal with them. Now, luckily for me, he doesn't have any Hellions on my side of the map right now to really wreak havoc in my natural mineral line. If he would have done that, I think I would have lost right here, simply because I would have lost so many more workers. What I should have done actually is kept these roaches at home. I was a little bit worried of my Hydras getting picked off by Hellions, but I should at least have kept like 5 roaches home. Would have been so much easier. I am starting to upgrade +2 missile upgrades right now, and I'm also starting to ramp up the queen production once more. 3 queens at once being produced right now, and I'm just gonna be upgrading. Now, I know at this point that my opponent very likely does not have a third base, okay? At this point, it's pretty expensive for him to afford, and I got a kill on his first third command center. I did get a kill on that, so I do know that my opponent has invested into it, and that he is likely to invest into it once more, but he likely hasn't had it up and mining just yet. I am going to be scouting around, however. I want to move out as soon as my opponent seems to be taking a third base. For example, if my opponent, let me take control of the camera right here, if my opponent would take a third base right here, he knocks down the rocks and he puts down a planetary fortress, I am in trouble. I know for a fact that I won't be able to hold that. So I need to be trying my very hardest to make sure that that does not happen. I also need to spread my creep because, you know, I am making extra queens right now. At the moment, we are having 5 of them, still producing a couple more. But I am producing extra queens right now, so I'm gonna need the extra creep to be able to move across the map. I'm keeping tabs of his army as well, with my own Overseer, just to make sure that he is still at home, and I also have a little bit more vision. But here we go, his Banshees are once again going in, and I did not expect this. He once again gets a bunch of kills, does decide to cloak out. Now my Overseers are already here. I do decide to also start producing the Overseer speed and my Overlord speed, because it's very good, but I am still, you know, behind. I'm definitely not in a good position right now, but the queens are one of these units that is pretty good in this situation. Gotta get my roaches out of here though, because it's a bit risky, but gotta send my my queens towards the third base, my other main army, my Roach Hydra Bull, straight to my natural, and we're gonna be able to defend both fronts using this. Gonna try and actually try my very best to pick up a Banshee or 2 right here. Do manage to use a transfuse on one of the queens. Almost a second Banshee going down right there, just barely not going down. But we are still even in supply. Now, upgrades wise, we are doing well, okay? My opponent is just now getting the +1 attack. He's just now getting the Blue Flame, the Infernal Pre-Igniter upgrade as well. But we are just about to finish up +2/+2. And I'm going to be transitioning into more roaches again, which means that we are going to very quickly go ahead in the supply count. Now, we will get a chance of doing one big aggressive move, okay? I know that my opponent doesn't have a third yet. We also got that going, but I do see him starting to knock down these rocks, so I need to get moving instantly. If a planetary fortress goes down at that third gold base, I am in a lot of trouble, and I don't want to be. Now, luckily for me, this actually lines up really well with my upgrades, but here we go. I'm gonna be trying to move in. I know that he doesn't have a lot of siege tanks, simply because he has been going so heavy into the Thors, and I've been seeing the Banshees. Gonna try my very best to spread out my army into as big of a concave as I possibly can, using the transfuse on my army as soon as my queens are in range, and I'm gonna try and kill every single unit. So far, so good. We have managed to pick up most of the army, but we haven't managed to deny the third base just yet. He still has a pretty big, sizable army standing on the ground, and there's still a bunch of Banshees in the air. However, I am able to squeeze out a couple more roaches that I'm gonna use to counterattack. Got a lot of Hydras incoming as well at this point, and I'm gonna make more and more Overseers to make sure that my opponent, you know, does not kill them again, so I can actually kill these Banshees as soon as I do have vision. all of the drones that I have right now are going to be transferred towards the main, and I'm gonna go for a 4th base on the east side of the map. Just gonna try and pick off as much as I possibly can, but look at the production, or look at the supply counts, they are still not really in my favor. Gonna use my reinforcing hydralisk to target fire down the expansion. If he gets the planetary right here, he is in a lot of trouble, and my opponent does decide to leave the game once he loses this 3rd base. So all in all, really cool game to be playing, honestly. Even though it's really weird, and even though this is not something I am really used to playing, when playing Zerg vs Terran, I usually play these long macro games. This is definitely a fun style to play, and I am really enjoying StarCraft 2. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. If you didn't enjoy it, make sure you hit the dislike button. But whatever you do, make sure to subscribe, because you will be the very first one to get a notification when I upload another video. I want to thank you guys all for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, and I'll see you in the next one.